Hello and welcome everybody to the Games Done Quick Hotfix. We got a little one-off special for you here this evening. I'm your host, Etchy. We're filling in here for Awfully Silly, which will return at its normal time in 2 weeks on October 16th at 7 p.m. Eastern. We are doing a little Pokemon DLC speedrun showcase of Etiquette running Pokemon Scarlet The Teal Mask. It's a DLC that just came out like, 2 weeks ago? Yeah, about 2 weeks ago. So really fresh, really new stuff. It's really interesting because there's a lot of different main Pokemon that people have been using to get really good times, and we're going to see one of those routes right now. So Etiquette, why don't you go ahead and lead us into it?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for having us. So with me, I've got two other commentators. We've got Spider C. Hello. And Dynam.
Hello there.
And there is quite a long intro here, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So starting the run in 3, 2, 1, go. All right. So like Etchy said, we're going to be showing off the Teal Mask speedrun. Teal Mask being the new DLC that just came out on September 13th, I think it was. And yeah, it's been really exciting. I've got Spider and Dynam here today, mostly because they do routes that are not the one that you're going to see. This is one of the first times we've had such a wide variety of Pokemon that are viable for the top end of the speedrun. In fact, when I was asked to do this show, the route I'm using right now was the fastest route, and now it is the third fastest. Just in that short period of time, this route got superseded already. This one can still be improved, obviously, but it is really cool just to see how much creativity and stuff like that there is right now. So. And one other thing to just mention, for the purposes of today, to fill out the time slot a little bit, we are doing the beginning of the game through the speedrun. Normally, if you go to speedrun.com, or if you see other people doing runs of this category, they'd actually be starting after the school section. That's sort of the agreed upon start for these non-full game runs that we do. We also have single story categories for the main game. But we're going to include that here today.
Yeah, I also wanted to show it because I don't know if we've ever really shown the intro stuff on GDQ before, because you ran this game at SGDQ, right?
Yep.
Yeah, SGDQ, and you did Victory Road, I believe?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so Victory Road is one of those single story categories where you just skip the intro, and then every time it's on Hotfix, it's pretty much always the shorter single story categories as well. I don't think we've ever shown any % on Hotfix, so this is one of the few times we can actually do that. So very exciting to kind of show the full kind of intro experience as well here, and show off more of the game that we just haven't been able to show before.
Yeah. This game it's a really interesting one. Just with the we've got this whole beat the game any percent is sort of the full game experience. We're actually including even this, which is not even part of any percent. Any percent we start right after this cutscene. But even in those kinds of categories, the resets aren't too bad. When you typically think of a speedrun of Pokemon, you're probably thinking of either an early game where you've got RNG manipulation to guarantee perfect stats or close to perfect stats, or you're thinking of one of the later gen Pokemon games, which has are kind of notorious for having pretty bad starter resets, because you need certain stats, you need certain good luck at the beginning of the run. That doesn't really exist in this game, even in when we're doing the actual starter resets, just because, as you're going to see, the starter is not really what gets used for a lot of runs. The starters can be used for, I think, 2 of the single stories, but not really for any percent, and certainly not for this category.
Yeah, each of the starters has its own spotlight in the story runs, actually. Where Chaos Grotto gets used for Path of Legends, Rockville gets used for Starfall Street, and then
Fuecoco gets a little bit of a spotlight in Victory
it shows up
Road.
a little bit in Victory Road. Thank you, I couldn't think of the name.
Actually, I want to leave autosave on just in case.
Not a terrible idea. So,
Yeah, there will be at least one spot that I am actually going to manually save, specifically when I'm catching my new Pokemon, just because there are ways that we can make the catch odds more beneficial, but they are not nearly as guaranteed as you might think. So, making sure that we catch what we need without too much of a hassle. So starting off here, we've got your typical sort of start to a Pokemon run. We set our options. It's the usual things like animations off. Wait, no, we can't turn animations off.
I was gonna say that's like the notable thing
Pause
about
right
this
there.
game. Yeah.
Set battle style. Oh wait. No.
Yeah, no switch battle style. So we have animations are always on, and that actually comes into play when it comes to routing. One of the reasons that Flamigo is the best Pokemon for any percent in the Victory Road category at the moment is because the move animations that Flamigo has are just so much faster than a lot of other Pokemon. So the switch battle style, you are forced to be in switch battle style, which really punishes you for having more than one Pokemon in your party. So even though like experience gain is passive and pretty fast, you're still going to get asked to switch after every fight. Or after every Pokemon in a fight, which is not really ideal for speed. So there's that. The one thing that we actually do get to do is turn the text speed to fast. And funny enough, one of the changes that came along with the DLC was, in that particular menu, we also turn off like certain cutscenes, and there's a warning message or something that says like, hey, are you really sure you want to turn off cutscenes? You're not going to understand the story, even though it skips like 3 total cutscenes in the game. And that one text box still is slow text speed now after the update. Even though you change your text speed to fast, it is actually a little bit annoying. I thought the game was like crawling for a second, but it was actually just the way that they changed that one menu.
I just really want to make sure you don't miss out on the 3 quote unquote cutscenes. Or movies, sorry, quote unquote movies.
Yeah.
So which starter are you going to select here, Coach?
So I am going to pick Fuecoco. I'm going to be picking Fuecoco for 2 main reasons. The first is it's a little bit more comfortable for me, just because Fuecoco is what we pick in any percent. The starter you get actually does not matter at all for this particular route. I don't think it matters in either of the other routes. Spider and Dynam can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, it wouldn't matter. It never comes out with the party.
Okay. So it doesn't really matter. There's like one optimization that I'll talk about when we get there, where actually picking Sprigatito for this route would be beneficial. But for the purposes of like a no reset marathon style run, we're not going to bother with that. But yeah, I'm going to be picking Fuecoco because of familiarity. It's what I pick in any percent, so I know what to do in all the fights and all that kind of stuff. It's also the bulkiest Pokemon of the 3, and there are 2 fights that are, I don't want to say difficult, but they are not the most straightforward fights in this sort of first 50 minutes of the run section. And so just having something that's a little bit bulkier is probably going to help. All right. Now we learned how to run by walking past the sign.
You got your running shoes.
I know. And here's one of the movies that we got to skip. There's this little intro movie where you get introduced to all the starters, and we don't get it. I've lost all context. I have no idea what's happening.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh my gosh, I just saw Clavel say Hotfix, and I was like, wait, what? It's because you named your character Hot.
I did name my character Hotfix, yeah.
He knows.
I was like, whoa. Reference?
We're in the game.
Yes, dude.
All right. Yeah, so any of the runners of single story categories probably know or are very familiar with this exact section of the game. So one of the things, because the single stories don't start until quite a ways into the game, you know, all of this stuff is done beforehand, which means you can do things like if you want to use your starter Pokemon for the Path of Legends category, for example, you can do that, and you can tailor make your starter Sprigatito to be the kind that you need, so you can get like good stats. I don't want to say perfect, because perfect, just no one's gonna sit there for like a 1 in 65,000 chance. But you can get like pretty good stats just by sitting here and resetting. And so it actually, all those single story categories are like a lot more approachable because they're only about an hour long, as opposed to like any percent, which is 5.5 hours. But they also have the downside of like you have to set up a save file. And specifically for Path of Legends, I actually don't know what the Starfall requirements are, but Path of Legends, the requirements are pretty high. So
yeah, I don't know what the Starfall requirements are.
right.
And I just run Hotchkiss for that, so.
Yeah, I mean, you basically need like a mirror for like Victor Road or Path of Legends. Yeah, for Path of Legends, you basically just need like a near max stat Sprigatito, right?
Yeah. I think it's like your speed can be a little bit on the low side.
Can be 7 IV.
Yeah. But the biggest hurdle, and the reason why it was kind of a pain to do, is like you need your defense and HP combination to be good. So it's not like, oh, I need good HP, but my defense can be whatever, or vice versa. Like you actually need both to be pretty good. And so it's just a lot of, you know, headache trying to get that to work. But once you get one, the Switch has different profiles, so you can just leave that profile alone and never have to reset it up again unless the stats change.
I have 5 single scores.
Oh, you know what's funny too is if you ever had to like switch to like Pokemon Violet or something, maybe that just randomly comes faster enough that you have to remake all those files.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
yeah. Speaking of which, why are you not
Grass
running?
cat here.
Why are you not playing on Pokemon Violet? Why are you playing Scarlet?
So it effectively doesn't matter for this category and for most categories. But I am playing on Scarlet because of some unconfirmed biases within our community. I guess is the best way to put it. It is believed, and there is some evidence that supports this, but it is believed that Violet runs a little bit slower. And potentially lags a little bit more. We don't know exactly what it is, and honestly, it hasn't really been talked about too much since like a couple months after the game came out. But pretty much every run that happened on Scarlet, the equivalent real time would actually be 2 minutes shorter on Violet of game time. So it was like, you know, I would get a time that was like a 5:26, which had like a 5:14 game time. And then someone would get a 5:26 on Violet and it'd be a 5:12 game time. And it's like, wait a second, where are these 2 minutes coming from? And so some people did some side-by-side comparisons, and through those side-by-side comparisons, it did look like Violet ran a little bit slower. But it was nothing really confirmed. And there have been a number of updates since then that I don't even know if that still holds true.
Sure. I know people were mostly pointing at the extra particles that were being created when like so there's 2 different mounts in this game. If you're playing Scarlet, you get Koraidon, which you're gonna see. You saw a little bit in the intro. You'll see again here pretty soon. And then in Violet, you get Miraidon, and Miraidon is like techno-futuristic type of Pokemon. So like it's like a bicycle, and just creates this little like lighting trail after it. And sometimes I guess people think that lags the game more, and that might be the reason why. But we don't know for sure. It's also very hard to like pinpoint exact sources of issues in this game, which is why we don't have like definitive answers. But
Yeah.
and also patches and updates and stuff can like throw it all out the window anyway. So it's just a lot of work for very little purpose.
Yeah, and it's tough too in a game like this. Like it's a 3D movement game. Like you can't even tell, especially if you're talking about things like a little bit of extra lag from like particles or whatever. You're talking about like frames almost. And it's like my movement could have just been slightly more optimal here and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, just get some crits. You're fine.
yeah. Yeah, the biggest indicator though was, like I said, that in-game time difference. But even that we don't really know for sure. So, all right. So coming up here on the catch tutorial. So it's worth mentioning that there are a number of things that you are allowed to do and a number of things that you are not allowed to do while setting up your save file for single story runs. Spider or Dynam, do you want to take what those things are, including this Lechonk here?
Yeah. So in terms of what you're allowed to do, you're allowed to pick your starter, not pick up any items off the ground except for a singular rare candy that we're going to be heading towards soon, and you are allowed to catch this Lechonk. After that point, you are allowed to win or lose any fight, any required fight after. The main things you're not allowed to do is pick up additional items, fight optional trainers, and catch other Pokemon. But from that point, otherwise, you basically, in your single story file, just make a beeline for the school, do the intro there, and then your single story file is going to start once you have received all, I guess it's 4 single story quests at this point now, because you get the phone call as well now.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple of additional things that were slightly more recent. One was that depending on what your starter is, you have the ability to, in this game, there's no like move relearner person that you have to go to. You can actually just relearn moves that your Pokemon would know at their given level, just straight from their Pokemon summary screen. So one of the more recent changes was being able to set up your starter Pokemon moves however you like. So say if you started with Coco, for example, you could just have Coco's entire moveset just be Ember, which helps a lot when you're trying to teach it new moves so that you can add in those new moves to just empty move slots and instead of having to teach over existing move, which saves time. And then the other more recent thing, which we just voted on as a community not more than a couple of days ago, was basically being able to order your party however you'd like. Because in some scenarios, in some single stories, you'd want to have your starter out in front. Some single stories may have your starter plus the Lechonk that you get from the tutorial catch here. Or in the Teal Mask, a couple of routes to just Lechonk in the party, basically. So those have been a couple of more recent developments in setting up single story save files.
Yeah, and another thing that you're actually not allowed to do is the thing I was just doing, which is the Let's Go mechanic. So you can send out your Pokemon. It's kind of like auto battling, where if your Pokemon has. We actually learned a bunch of mechanics about this recently, and I don't even remember all of them. But
it basically simulates a battle between the Pokemon.
Yeah,
a very simple battle, but.
Yeah, and so it like uses your type effectiveness and the level and stuff like that. And so you can do those auto battles to gain a little bit of experience, which obviously, if we're not allowed to fight trainers or catch other Pokemon, we're obviously not allowed to get extra experience like that. And it also will get you materials, Pokemon materials. So it's like, can't think of any of them except for like Mankey Sweat, which is just the worst one to think of.
Tight Sweat, actually.
I think Lechonk hair is a thing.
Lechonk hair, yeah. And so those materials are what allow you to make TMs. And so obviously we don't want you to be able to stockpile a ton of these materials and then be able to just immediately craft a TM. So that's not allowed. You do get given some materials, so like those are the only ones that you're really allowed to start with. However, because we're doing this from the beginning of the game, I am going to utilize the Let's Go mechanic. This isn't going to count for leaderboards or anything like that. The main thing I'm trying to do is I want to try to hit level 7 before the next fight, which is against Arvin, and then level 8 before we get to the school, and specifically not just level 8, but a little bit past level 8 so I can hit level 9 for the second fight at the school. That just makes those 2 fights at the school so much nicer. If you go in with minimum experience, or if you go in with like true minimum experience, you're like level 5 still. But if you go in with like the standard minimum experience that you'd get, you're only going to be like level 6 or 7. And it's just a little bit more beneficial to be level 8 and 9.
Speaking of getting experience, you might want to deposit your Lechonk.
Yeah. I can, yeah. Yes. I have to think. reasons.
Reasons we'll see in like 50 minutes or so.
Do you hit level 4 with Lechonk if you beat Arvin with him?
I don't know, but you did just get a little XP from the Let's Goes
Yeah.
as well.
All right, I'll definitely deposit. All right.
Do you want to explain the movement that you're doing in the cave? Because I don't understand it.
Okay, so this movement is really strange. So if you watch, so I have to sort of stay behind Koraidon here. If I go too close to Koraidon, you'll see I start walking until I fall far enough behind. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to stay close enough that I can hit cutscene triggers quickly, but far enough away that I don't start walking instead. And it's, I don't know, it doesn't really matter until you hit a cutscene trigger. Like there's a cutscene trigger right here on this little green spot. The basically idea is you don't want to be walking into one of those cutscene triggers because that means you could have gotten there faster by running. I don't think I explained this right. So let me try again. So if you get too close to Koraidon, you start walking until you fall far enough behind. But how far behind you have to fall is actually within the running zone. So like you'll see I'm running this close to him. If I went up too close, I'd actually start walking. Like here I can run normally. But the game is like forcing me to walk until I fall far enough behind. And so if you start walking, you're essentially losing ground compared to if you were just like staying back like this and then running. And so you just want to make sure you're running up to every one of the cutscene triggers. Otherwise you're like losing maybe like 2 seconds. It's not that big of a deal. But it's like the one bit of speed tech in this first 45 minutes. So like, just let me have it.
I'm not going to take it from you. Don't worry. You're good. All right, this Fuecoco can handle this.
Exactly. Uh-oh.
Oh, I see.
I think I've heard that people have like trained up their starter out to Quackable and it still just runs away from now.
Yeah.
Aw.
No amount of experience will let you face this town do one-on-one.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
Well, they should have made it shiny. That would have been funnier.
By the way, skip cutscenes is on. I just want to make it known.
Oh no, horde battles have returned.
Just use surf.
Oh, I love the horde battle in Oras. So funny.
The Delta episode Horde Battle would be even better.
Wait, what's in the Delta episode horde battle?
So
Remember
It's
this?
Mighty Enna.
they're Mighty Ennas,
Oh,
and they all
gosh.
have Intimidate,
Yeah.
and each one
It's-
procs Intimidate one by one.
No.
Yep.
It's so funny.
It's really funny.
You just get intimidated
Yeah,
five
you start the fight at
times.
-5 attack. Which actually makes, if you're not using the soft sand, Groudon's Earthquake doesn't kill. Fun little fact. All right,
This is why special attackers are goated.
exactly.
That's when you have new animations on.
I do like how you said this
So
is why special attackers are goated as our physical attacker dinosaur like fainted in the sun. It was like perfect timing.
Which is weird because his ability procs in the sun.
I know.
Oh, he's back up.
He's fine.
All right. So we're on our way to that lighthouse here. That lighthouse is going to be the site of our next battle against Arvin. I did not get all the way up to level 7, I don't believe.
I think you hit 7.
Did I? Okay.
Are you gonna get rid of the chunk?
I am.
The other thing that
Wasn't gonna,
interesting
but-
that just
Because I forgot.
The other interesting thing that just happened there is that we got the Swift TM from Nimona, which this, I believe, is the only route of all of the Scarlet and Violet routes that uses that Swift TM.
Yep. And we use the Swift TM for literally 2 Pokemon in the entire route. And it ends up being faster. There's a move that that are the main Pokemon we're going to be using. There is a move that we could use instead of Swift that we already know. We don't even have to reteach it. But teaching Swift is faster than using that move for reasons that we will explain later. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and fight Arven. Arven only has 1 Pokemon here. It's a Skwovet. So it's not too bad. Arven is so you basically have 3 like friends, I guess. I don't know. There are 3 other primary characters in the game outside of the player character for the main game. And all 3 of them have a storyline associated to them. So Nimona, who's your main rival, she's going to be the one that fights you alongside in the Victory Road speedrun. That's the one I did at SGDQ this past summer. Arven here is the main protagonist for the Path of Legends category, which is the one where you fight all the Titans to get the moves for your ride Pokemon. And then you have a pretty nasty fight against him at the end if you're doing the Path of Legends category itself. Specifically because of this Skwovet. Turns into a Greedent that has Body Slam, which don't let anyone tell you it's only 30% to paralyze.
I'm just saying it feels good to see that Skwovet get knocked out there.
Yeah.
True.
And then Penny, who we're actually going to meet in maybe like 10 minutes, probably even less than that, is the main other character for the Starfall Street category, who has a very cool fight at the end of that category with some pretty good music.
If you've heard Penny's battle theme, it's an absolute banger.
It is. A lot of the music in this game is, and the DLC is no exception. There are some really good themes in the DLC that we're going to be hearing, which I am very excited about. What's really funny is, as this is Hotfix, we do, the breaks every hour or so. And I was thinking ahead, and I'm like, I think the best time to do the first break is going to be literally right before we go to the DLC. Because that's like right about the hour mark.
Right.
Yeah. So we're
Just leave them wanting more, yeah.
Or we could go to the DLC.
Tease it for an hour.
We could go to the DLC and make the kids sick. Because there's a kid who gets sick on the
Sorry,
bus.
what?
No, there's a kid who gets sick on the bus.
Wait.
And then we just don't help him, and we go take our break instead.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's just motion sickness. We don't like induce any viruses. Or
I didn't consider that yet.
When's our category to flex on the 6th kid?
Ditch sick kid.
Doesn't even have a name.
So what's happening in the intro now? What has happened so far? Obviously, we had the Koraidon thing.
Yeah. So we heard a monster down on the beach, and we went to go see him. We gave him a sandwich, and he got better. Then we followed him through a cave, got attacked by some Houndoom and Houndour. And then he collapsed when he came out of the cave. Like, he helped us in there. Collapsed when he came out of the cave. And then we fought Arven, and then we went up top of a lighthouse to check out the area, which we gave this, this game kind of has a little bit of mixed opinions about it. But I will say it was really cool to go to that top of that lighthouse for the first time on release day and see this whole big open world. And it's like, wow. Because
Yeah,
See
this
that-
is like
see
the
that
first
mountain? You
kind
can
of
climb
more
it.
open area too
yeah.
that you have access to. Also, you're seeing here we just passed 2 trainer battles, and in this game they don't stop you.
They do
You
not.
can just walk past them. You don't have to fight them, which is good for speedruns.
Yes. Yeah, there's no line of sight anymore. Or I don't want to say anymore because I don't know what the next game is going to be. But in Generation 9, there's no line of sight. You can walk by every trainer. The trainers will only fight you if you talk to them. So very, very nice. it would totally be possible. I understand why they did it. It would totally be possible to just go around every trainer in the game with how open everything is.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not a big deal. It's just pretty funny.
And then you have to sit there for 10 seconds while they slowly walk up to you.
Yeah. Also, I think I've been glossing over it a little bit. So there's actually one more bit of speed tech that I failed to mention. And it's this thing we do called stop and go. So the let's go mechanic, if you watch, you can see the character like does this whole animation where she like thrusts her arm out, sends out the Pokemon, all that. There is a way that you can send out the Pokemon like that without that whole animation. You basically have to release the stick. So the let's go button is the R button. Yeah, like the right bumper. You can like release the stick to neutral as you hit R and then start moving again. And it kind of prevents that little animation from happening. We don't really know why, but I don't even remember who came up with the name Stop and Go, but we came up with the name Stop and Go, and it's just really cool. And it's actually useful because of the Starfall Street storyline involves a lot of those Let's Go battles. So by skipping those animations, you actually move through those pretty quickly.
Yeah, it doesn't really help for the higher level bases too much because you're waiting for your Pokemon to win the fights anyway. But for the lower level bases, if you're good at stop and goes, you can just breeze through them.
I think you meant to put in your Fuecoco and not your Lechonk for this battle. I don't know how you're going to win. I think it's only like a level 4 Lechonk, right?
I don't even think it's level 4. I think it's still level 3.
It's 3.
Level 3? Ooh.
Oh, no.
It'll be fine.
Oh, she's coming at us with 2 Pokemon this time.
Oh, and you only have 1. That's less.
That's... Oh, I got crit.
Oh, and a crit. Dude, you would have lived, dude.
Oh, if it weren't for
so
that
unlucky.
crit, we would have had
The
this.
funny thing is the crit did matter.
Would have just lived with it.
So there are a couple of fights in this game, specifically the Nemona fights, that you don't have to win. You can just... In fact, you don't even have to win that first one we had down at the beach. You can lose that one. It's really hard to lose that one because she tries really hard not to kill you. But
It's harder to win, or it's harder to lose Arvin 1.
yeah,
That one he will not go for the kill on.
yeah. So we take the death on those fights. Specifically, like a lot of the Nemona fights, the reason why it's so much more beneficial to lose instead of win is because at the end of every fight, there's going to be terrestrialization that happens. So terrestrialization is the Generation 9 gimmick. Think like Dynamax in last generation, Z moves, Mega Evolution, stuff like that. And there's like a whole 30-second animation associated to terrestrializing and all that kind of stuff. So we just skip all that by losing the fight, and the game allows us to proceed anyways. So Lechonk does get some screen time because of that. And that was actually one of the things when I was thinking about, I have to do the intro, I was thinking I had to win that fight for some reason. And so I was like, all right, I cannot pick Quaxley because Quaxley like can't win that fight.
Quaxley literally cannot win that fight, correct?
Staring down a
yeah.
Pommy with an electric cat on it.
Yeah, the Pokemon she terrestrializes only knows one move, which is Thunder Shock. So it would obliterate the water starter. Sprigatito would actually be fine. Sprigatito has a little bit of a harder time on the first school fight coming up. So that's mainly why I picked Fuecoco.
Yeah, and when you are setting up your single story files, it is actually nice if you can beat Nemona 2. Not only for the extra XP, but it actually gives you a little bit more money if you're doing an X item shop at the start of the run, which a lot of the routes do end up doing.
The run I'm doing right now is going to do that.
I think even in Path of Legends, I believe the Pommy gives a speed EV, if that sounds correct at all.
That does.
Which helps a little bit with some speed ranges down the line for that category.
All right. Oh, I need to do the thing. Oh my god, it's been so long since I did any percent. I'm also gonna put this here. All right.
Bring the croc back.
Yeah. So saving here is like a super precaution. But bringing out Fuecoco is very important. The amount of any percent runs I've lost to not party managing there is more than I'd like to admit. Because this game, I do have autosave on. The game does autosave. It autosaves primarily on like area transitions. So we got an autosave on the way into Mezagoza, but we would have had to do that entire walk again and all that kind of stuff. So just saving there real quick in case something does go wrong. The nice thing is in the first fight here usually doesn't go wrong. If anything's going to go wrong, it's the second fight. And the second fight, we do have a little bit of a trick up our sleeves if we absolutely need to.
I'm glad that you caught that because your two commentators have not touched any percent at
Never
all.
done this before.
Yeah.
We are single story category experts, but not anywhere close to any percent.
I think Lechonk could have handled it. Oh,
That was a juicy crit. That is normally a 3-shot. So
That one was for Lechonk.
yeah,
One out for the Lechonk.
yeah. So the funny thing about the Lechonk dying on that fight is she doesn't have AI to like help you win like some of the other fights do, but she has 4 moves she can use. One of them, or 2 of them, are 2 shots. Bite and I think it has Leafage. Are 2-shot. The other moves, I think she has Scratch, which is a 3-shot, and then Tail Whip, which just lowers your defense. And so, like, there's this weird thing where you can get, like, Tail Whip, Tail Whip, Tail Whip, Tail Whip, or Scratch, Scratch, and then she starts spamming Tail Whip. Like, just all these different things that don't lead to you dying quickly. So getting crit when you don't get 1-shot anyways is actually really nice. All right. So this fight is, in my opinion, in any percent, one of like the top 5 hardest fights in the game. For one particular reason, we'll see if it's relevant. All right, it is going to be relevant. Shout out to those cutscenes, by the way. All right, so one more. All right, we're good. So this young goose can be faster than you, can speed tie you. Like you can be faster, depends on your stats. And it has bite, which can flinch. So you can just get absolutely comboed there if you're unlucky. But we got through it. Worth mentioning those little cutscenes that happened like in between turns. Those got added randomly in one of the updates, and that unironically adds like a couple seconds to these fights. All right. We're going to make our way up these steps. Oh, I literally was going to make the joke that she just made. It was like something about climbing the worst staircase in your life. And she just said that dialogue. Like if I had to go to school up here, I would just skip. I don't know about you all.
I would never leave my dorm room.
Oh yeah, your dorm room's up
Agreed.
here. That's true.
Yeah. What was that, Notebook Girl?
This is Notebook Girl.
Oh, there we go. Almost as iconic as Egg Power.
All right. So this section is quite long. It's not that long, but this is where you kind of get introduced to everybody. You already met Arvin, you already met Penny down with Team Star. You've met Demona, but you kind of get introduced to the whole like school part of the game. This is a part of the game that we actually don't touch at all in the speedrun. There's like a full-fledged, list of classes that you can take and stuff like that. And they actually they give you rewards for completing them, but they actually like teach you things too in the game, which is really cool. There's a whole math course that has classes and information about like how the battle mechanics work and stuff like that. It's actually pretty cool.
I was setting up a single story save file recently, and I accidentally started the class. So I had to
Oh no.
back and redo like the last 30 minutes.
That's awful.
Some of the rewards that you get for completing the courses, I think once you complete like the midterms or the tests, you get like anywhere between like Pokeballs to a bunch of XP candies, which is really nice if you're doing a casual playthrough.
Yeah, there's a lot of this stuff. And like the other thing that I didn't even realize until which all right, I didn't realize until way later into my playing. If I started playing with the DLC, there's no way I would have been able to ignore it. There's a ton of rewards that you can get by completing part of the Pokedex. So the Pokedex gives you a reward for every like 10 Pokemon that you catch. It's kind of like Battle Pass style almost. Like it's got like the first 10, here's your reward. The next 10, here's your reward. And some of those rewards are really good. It'll be anything, like Dynam said, from like a couple Pokeballs to like bottle caps, which will raise your stats, experience candies, evolution items. Like there's a ton of stuff in there.
And now we get notifications for them.
Yeah. And now, if you don't redeem them, you get notified every time like you see a new Pokemon. It's like, by the way, you got rewards. Pokedex rewards. Don't forget.
It's really fun in the baton pass.
Oh god, I can imagine. Alright, so here we're kind of getting introduced to the gym challenge, the Victory Road storyline. The lady who was here before is Gita. Gita is the top champion, I believe it's called. And she's like the head of the Elite Four in the Pokemon League. So we get told where all the gyms are and things like that. We're not going to be doing any of that stuff here. Now we're going to go talk to Arvin and get introduced to the Path of Legends category, or storyline, which was 20% completable at the beginning of the routing of this category, but is no longer at all even considered. Spider, were you the first one to nix the cloth in any of the runs?
Yeah, I nixed it instantly. Or do you mean just overall?
Just overall, yeah.
Yeah, someone suggested it for Starfall pretty early on. I unfortunately don't remember who it was. And I was like, yeah, maybe. And I just filed it away. And then like a month later, I came back and realized that not doing cloth was actually the way to go for Starfall. And then, yeah, for this category, it was immediately, I was like, nah, I'm not doing cloth.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty funny considering that Dash is the ability that you get for beating the Titan Cloth, and the movement that we do in Starfall Street and in the Teal Mask DLC isn't enough to justify going all the way out of your way just to complete that Titan, sit through the Arvin cutscene, and then make your way back to the DLC area.
Yeah, it's barely worth getting cloth in the Victory Road category. I think it saves a little over a minute. And so for this one, it's a shorter category on a smaller map. So didn't really make sense to really consider.
You know what's funny too is the cool part of not getting dash and not fighting cloth is that when you're not dashing around, your game definitely lags less. There's a little bit of time saving that too.
You have more time to react to wild encounters.
That's honestly
nice.
that's so huge and so important.
That's the main.
There's so
draw
many
for
just
that,
little
honestly.
guys just running around that you can't see, and you just hit them, and then you get chained into 4 encounters in a row, and it's awesome.
Dude, they added so many more little guys in the DLC, I swear. There's just so many small little Pokemon.
And they all blend into the surroundings, whether it's like in the grass, you're just like, oh,
Yeah, I
suddenly
mean, everyone will
there's
see it in the
encounter.
DLC, but in the DLC they just added like a ton of grass everywhere, so it just makes things even harder to see like little Pokemon and stuff. It's great.
Yeah, the Spinnerack 100% blend in with the grass.
Oh yeah.
Spinnerack's
I've
one.
gotten bodied by Cutiefly so many times.
Yep. Cutiefly. I get bodied by Fomantis a lot, which Fomantis isn't even in, like, wasn't Fomantis in the main game? Not even the
Yeah,
DLC
but it
mod?
wasn't anywhere near we went.
Yeah.
It's just in the upper left of the map, I think.
All right. So here we're going to get introduced to the professor of the region, Professor Sada. However, again, we're not going to really do anything with her. I mean, slight spoilers for this game that's almost been out a year. You really don't pay too much attention to her until the end game anyways. The story of this game is very good if you've not played it. I do recommend it.
And here we'll see the Pokemon world's first PNG tuber.
All right.
I like how she refers to you as your student ID number.
I know.
Good touch.
Not foreshadowing at all.
Yeah, this is what's the time right now? So we're like, yeah, so we're getting close to the end of the school section of like the normal any percent speedrun. And once you leave the school, the game just opens up immensely immediately. You just have access to basically everything. You can do a lot of things out of like the traditional order. Some of which the game is prepared for, some of which the game doesn't really expect you to do, kind of too early or too late or whatever. And we can just go to the DLC basically immediately once we break free.
Yeah, it is really nice. It is one of the things I like the most about this game. It does, in a way, I don't want to say trivialize, because there's definitely still a lot of routing opportunities for the game. But it does kind of trivialize things a little bit in that because you have access to every area of the game at the beginning, if you can reach something, you can pick it up. And so there is, one of the original names of the strategy was something called Around the World, which is you basically go everywhere in the game, you get every fly point, you pick up a ton of items. Primarily things like experience candies and rare candies, and then you can just be super over leveled for the vast majority of the game. We still do that to some degree, but because the game has been out so long and people just naturally get better at routing, a lot of the focus has been on like, okay, I know I can do it with this many candies. Can I skip some? Can I skip some more? Can I skip some more? And then you basically try to pare down things, and you're only going to be picking up ones that are like directly on your path, or maybe even less than like 10 seconds out of the way, because you just don't want to be wasting that time if you don't have to. Like one of the primary routes that I was doing originally for this game, for this category, involved getting to level 35 before I even entered the DLC area. Like I was picking up that many candies, and you're going to see now I'm going to be skipping like a whole set of 3 candies. And, in the end, I'm going to be like level 41, but that's going to be including something like 9 rare candies that I'm picking up in the DLC area. So it's like, you end up just skipping so many candies. And that's where like a lot of the optimizations are coming in. And those are kind of not as exciting as like some other route changes that you might see. But they can be pretty massive for this game.
It's always very exciting to save 5 seconds on movement.
Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting just how different this game's any percent strategy / route is compared to every other Pokemon game, where you just are going around the world boosting up to like level 60 or 50 or whatever, and then just kind of sweeping everything. Really interesting and different, and it's very unique style speedrun compared to a lot of other ones. We're about to break free from school. We'll never have to come back here. Well, sort of.
We will.
Yeah,
we will come back.
we will come back here, but not to take classes. We're too cool for school now.
So true.
The parents
I
signed the waiver.
forgot where you triggered the DLC. And yes, it is in the school. So the sheer amount of steps to get in and out of the school is kind of ridiculous. I feel
know.
really bad for these students.
It is pretty ridiculous.
You know, I guess everyone does have Pokemon, so you could just ride up there. So it's, I guess that's okay. But
And to be fair, flying taxis are free.
yeah, there you go.
There is a fly point at the top, so you can
Yeah, you just fast travel from the bottom of the stairs.
We're so close. This section of the game is always really funny because every time I get outside, I'm like, yes, all right, it's about time to go. And I get myself ready. And then I'm like, oh, wait, there's still like 2 more minutes.
Yeah.
And now there's a phone call too.
Yeah.
They gotta remind you all the
The phone
different
call
stories.
after this phone call.
Yeah, phone call after this one.
Yeah, the game is basically just putting all the points on your map and making sure you are aware of all the options before you. There's basically 3 main quests, so you can tackle the individual points of this quest in basically whatever order you want, except for a few exceptions. But it's just reminding you. You learned about a bunch of these during the school section already.
Yeah. I think the only true exception, and I'm sure there's like some weird platforming way you can do it, but I think the only true exception is you have to beat the Titan that gives you swim before you can beat the Titan that gives you climb. And it's just because the Titan that gives you climb is in the middle of a giant lake. So you might be able to glide there, maybe, but you would at least need swim or glide in order to get there. But other than that, you can do everything in literally whatever order you want. It's actually really, really cool for a Pokemon game. The one downside is things don't scale. So if you decide, hey, this bug gym, I'm going to do this last, it's still going to be like level 14 and 15. But, you know, I just whacked my controller and hit the home button. That was really weird.
Good thing you got out of save on.
Yeah, that could have been
That would
bad.
have been tragic right here. Extra phone call, extra phone call. All right. Yeah, so this is the new phone call we're getting for the DLC. So we can head to the land of Hidakami, I think is how you say it. And we're immediately going to go and buy some X items because this is a Pokemon speedrun.
God of War does not buy X items.
Oh,
Must be nice.
I'm going to do this.
You need an LP shop.
Yeah. Because I lost to Arvin or Nimona. I actually had to do that shop differently than my file. I actually didn't know my file was set up in that special way. So there you go. Learn something new. And we're going to go over here and pick up our first of many rare
Egg powered.
candies.
Sorry.
As well as a very important held item. Oh god, why is my map like this? There we go. So the Wise Glasses are going to boost special moves by 10% when held. So we're going to be, spoilers, we're getting a special attacker, and we're actually going to make our way to catch it right now. Not before doing some cool platforming. Hey, does somebody want to explain the one bit of platforming tech we have in this game?
It's called backwards long jumping. You may have heard of it.
Have we decided that's long jump, or do we
No,
shift over to ledge jump? I don't remember.
Here it is. If you just jump backwards onto uneven surfaces, you can just keep jumping.
Sure.
So people just call it VOJ because Mario 64 reference. But they're not necessarily long jumps or ledge jumps. They're just backwards jumps. So they're just BLJs, and it's fine. Yeah, you can.
First
It's
strike for
basically.
fast jump.
I think you can also call it reverse Skyrim horsing. I think that works too.
Yeah.
But it's very useful because you actually normally what you have to do is you have to fight a Titan. I don't remember which one it is. That gives you the ability to climb like surfaces. But a lot of them you can kind of just backwards jump through them, so it's totally fine.
Yeah, it's
It opens up way more of the map than the game might have intended.
Yeah, it's pretty much any slope that you would slide down. So if it's a slope that you run face first into and bonk, it won't work. But if it's one that you can kind of go up and you slide down, then you can do it. You just have to face away from the direction that you would slide. All right, so here is our new main. You might be thinking, what is this little Pokemon? I've never seen this before. Yeah, no, agreed. No.
Ooh.
It always gets in the second ball Pokeball.
Trust.
Yeah, so normally what you want to do here is you want to it to be nighttime, and you pick up a Dusk Ball actually on the path here, and the Dusk Ball plus the Backstrike is a 95% chance to get in. But because of like starting from the beginning of the game changes the day-night cycle a little bit, so we couldn't guarantee that it was nighttime here. But third ball is not too
First
bad.
try.
And now that we caught that, we're immediately going to go ahead and fly back to the school. So along the way, we also picked up 2 experience candies, an EXP candy M and an L. M's for medium are worth 3,000 flat experience, and L's are worth 10,000. So the only L we're going to have in the run. Any percent gets way more, but Frisk and 20. This is actually like the best one I've had in a while. So there you go. But yeah, L's are like 10,000 flat experience. The any percent category gets like double-digit number of L candies. It's just the DLC doesn't have them as much as the main game does.
Yeah, there's 2 L candies in the DLC zone. I don't believe either is accessible without Swim or a different movement option.
Yeah. All right, so this is Miss Briar. Miss Briar is one of the new DLC characters. This is Jock. Jock was one of the teachers, professors. I don't know.
It's also your homeroom teacher.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she's telling us about Blueberry Academy and the land of Kitakami. And we're going to go take a trip there. We're one of the few students selected. What are the chances of that? To go take a special trip there to represent the... What's the name?
It changes depending on the game.
It's Naranja in this game. It's Uva in Violet, and it's Naranja in this. So Naranja Academy. And yeah, it's a quick flight and bus ride away.
I wonder who the other students who were selected are going to be.
I hope they're those characters we just met and not 3 random NPCs.
It's the side duck's coming, the one in the back.
I wish.
One kind of interesting plot thing to kind of keep in mind if you're interested to like just be aware of going into this DLC is that this is like kind of like a part 1 of a story. Like there's still a complete story in this DLC, but a lot of the characters will be coming back in the part 2 DLC, which will come out in a few months. So like there are some things that are like left unresolved that will be resolved in that. There's like plot points that'll carry over characters, whatnot. So something you may want to keep in mind if this is your first time seeing it.
Yeah, and the DLC definitely sets itself up for a second part. Absolutely. And honestly, it'll be pretty interesting to see what like a full game run will look like if you include like the main story and all the DLCs. I keep getting asked about doing like a full one. It's like I don't really want to do it yet because it's like it's only half there.
Yeah.
But it'll be actually, I think it'll be pretty cool once the time comes. So see this kid in the red hat? He just got motion sick on the bus.
Relatable.
And I think once we gain control here, it is a little bit anticlimactic because we just got to the DLC, but I think this would be the best time probably for the first break.
Yeah, this is a good teaser. We're about to embark on this new area. If you want to see what's going to happen, the new characters are going to meet, then definitely stay tuned throughout the break here. But we'll wait till you gain control. But yeah, during Hotfix, we like to take breaks approximately every hour to give people a chance to stretch, get some water, do what you got to do. Give our runners a chance to take a break when they might normally not be able to take breaks during their runs. So go ahead and count it down whenever you're ready to take that break.
Yep. All right, let's take a break in 3, 2, 1, go.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll be back in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. I want to mention, though, that GDQX will be live from TwitchCon October 20th to 22nd. That's this month now, very soon. The event will take place on the Games Done Quick stage, as well as stream live on our Twitch channel right here. And you can use !GDQX in Twitch chat to find out more info and check out the schedule. And we'll be back in a couple minutes. Hello and welcome back, everybody. From our short break, we're in the middle of this Pokemon Scarlet Teal Mass speedrun. Again, this is the newest Pokemon DLC. We just did kind of the intro part of the game, and now we're going to get into the actual DLC area. We have just landed. Etiquette here is going to run on through and do some cutscenes, do some battle. Very exciting. Before we get into that, I just want to make one more announcement that Awesome Games Quick 2024 will be live in person January 14th through the 21st in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Last time I made this announcement, I said Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. That's not what PA stands for. Use !AGDQ in Twitch chat for more info. Feel free to at Games Done Quick on Twitter to let us know what you're hoping to see on the games list. And remote volunteer applications are open now until October 4th. You can go ahead and apply at gamesdonequick.com. And Etiquette, why don't you go ahead and count us back in?
All right, let's get going. Start back up in 3, 2, 1, go. All right. So yeah, like Eshi said, we just landed in Kitakami, which is the DLC region, completely separate region from the rest of the game, which is actually really exciting. And we are making our way to the town here. Okay, that was not your stream. That was the game.
The game wanted to take a break too. It's all good.
Yeah, we didn't let the game take a break, so. But yeah. One little thing, we did have to run that section. We couldn't use our ride Pokemon. It's like the one section of the DLC where that's the case. So we're going to get our ride Pokemon back. But for now, we just had to make that run. And it was very important that I was looking at the town. Spider, do you want to explain why I was looking at the town?
So when I first started running this category, when you're running up to the town in this section, I angled my camera so that it was pointing straight down at the ground. Because I'm like, hey, if I don't look at things, they won't render, and it'll run faster. Turns out that includes the town that doesn't render. So then when you walk into that cutscene trigger, the game just kind of sits there for 30 seconds as it loads the town.
Oh no.
Yeah. It's a battle that we have to deal with to make the game, handle the way that we need it to while we're also going really fast. So there are definitely some sections, not so much in the DLC area I've found, but in the main game, there are definitely some areas where it's like, if you're looking at things for too long, your game will, it slows down a little bit. And so you just try to optimize that, and it becomes a really good muscle memory to like always be looking down. And this is just one of those cases where looking down is actually really bad. So here we got Lechonk again. I don't have great news about it, but another crit. All right, that crit didn't matter.
No way.
That crit didn't matter.
This poor Lechonk.
Poor Lechonk, though, has been out in battle twice and gotten crit twice. Again, more battles that we can lose. This isn't the case for all of the like rival battles in the DLC, like it is for Nimona. It's just sort of like these intro ones. I guess I didn't say it. So this is Carmine on the right and Kieran on the left. They are going to be like the main rivals, main characters of the DLC area. So we'll definitely be seeing a lot of them too. They are brother and sister. And they are from the Blueberry Academy, I believe it is. I did read the text my first time through, but I don't know how much I retained.
in Unova, actually.
In Unova.
It's very interesting. Yep.
Wait, Gen 5 remakes?
Let's go.
Let's go Gen 5. Let's go
I'm
Unova.
down.
All right, I'm down.
That load always takes a while. So yeah, we're basically getting introduced to like all the different characters. Here, our friend who got motion sick is feeling a lot better, which is good. After we left him while we took a break. And we're sort of getting introduced to the town. This is Misui Town. I think that's how you pronounce it. And this is kind of like your home base. You've got like a Pokemon Center. You've got a Pokemart kind of thing. This is where you can like, spend the night, things like that. So we're going to be coming back here quite a bit just because it's, it's the one town basically in the area. The rest of the town is kind of a lot more like the Sword and Shield Wild area, where it's like, there's like this one base of operations and then it's, here you go. Here's everything else. It's kind of like that. So
There's also a very happy Clefable in the community center later on, which is one of the highlights of the run.
This is true. Just like bounces back and forth. It's so happy.
don't know if I've ever seen it.
Oh,
How could you
could
not?
have
Okay,
missed
I don't know if
it?
I've ever noticed it.
It also makes a lot of noise sometimes.
We're gonna have to get this
Take
pointed
me
out.
back to Mount Moon.
Oh god, not Clefable. Like Chansey, but worse.
It's a big pink thing.
It is. All right, so here, this is one of the two like hardest parts of the game. So essentially, what she's going to try to do, what Briar's trying to do, is match up the two Blueberry Academy people with the 4 Naranja Academy people, and be like, you're going to create buddies and like, cross between schools and stuff. We're going to somehow end up with 2 buddies, and everyone else, I'm guessing, just has nobody. But the really important thing is we get to choose who we want our buddy to be. But there's only one correct answer. And she happens to be sandwiched between 2 other people whose talk hitbox is like way bigger than hers. So it's really easy to talk to Kieran by accident, which doesn't count, or talk to Miss Briar, which also doesn't count. We're going to get right up in her face. Make sure we talk to the right person. There we go.
Yeah, I think
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I think Carmine speedruns her task with her partner and then just ditches to hang out with us.
Gotcha.
Honestly, fair.
I was gonna say, because we have to pick her to then get partnered up with Kieran. Yeah, basically, Carmine was saying, in a typical big sister teasing fashion, how Kieran was obsessed with us, the way that we battled, the elegant way we battled with our Lechonk, getting crit turn 1. And
All right, can we go 3 for 3?
yeah, and wants to be our friends. So this battle, once again, we do want to lose this one. I do have 16 HP, which means I'm guaranteed to die. Oh my god.
We are
No
3
way.
for 3 on crit.
This poor Lechonk. None of the
Carmine-
one of the crits mattered. One of them.
Carmine told us to go eat dirt, and Lechonk took that personally.
Poor Lechonk.
Now we can go rest in the box.
Yeah.
That's what it's like.
In fact, I'm gonna. So optimally, you actually wouldn't withdraw Lechonk for close to like 10 minutes. Just because like you want to combine. One of the big things in Pokemon routing is trying to combine menus as much as possible. So we're gonna be doing sort of like a mini around the world segment where we're gonna pick up a bunch of rare candies and whatnot. And so being able to withdraw and then use all those candies in the same menu makes a lot of sense. But the downside is if I run into a wild Pokemon, I won't be able to run away from it because I have a level 3 Lechonk. So I'm going to go ahead and put the Lechonk away. We'll take out our Flittle and be on our way.
Rest easy, little buddy.
Yeah.
You've done well.
We're going to grab our first candy here with some hot speed tech to get up these stairs.
I think, Spider, you found this out.
Yeah, I did.
If you press B, you enter a sort of slide into stealth crouch animation. If you've played Legends Arceus, you can like crouch around and try to just avoid Pokemon. Apparently, you can just slide right up these stairs.
Yeah, because if you walk up the stairs normally, you get a slower animation as your character like trudges up the stairs. But if you slide up at normal speed. So it's actually faster to slide up the stairs than walk up them.
All right. So the main quest for this area, or the main quest that we've been given, is we have to visit these 3 signs. These signboards are going to give us sort of like the lore of the region. And the main storyline is surrounding, an ogre that was terrorizing the village. And the loyal 3 group of Pokemon who basically fended off the ogre. And I believe they lost their lives doing it. But the ogre was never seen since, so they were successful. So as we progress through the signboards, we're going to get more and more of the storyline. And the school assignment part is we have to take a picture with each one of them. So the game gives you like a new item called the selfie stick, or I think it's the roto stick. It's basically a selfie stick. And my first time playing this, I thought I was supposed to use the selfie stick to take a picture. And so I probably took a picture of this thing like 5 or 6 times before someone's like, dude, just talk to it.
The caretaker even gives you a very rad emote to use while you're doing the selfie.
It's true.
stick.
All right. So now we have to go to Kitakami Hall. We're going to go a little bit further, if you're looking at the map, to the west to pick up another fly point, as well as a rare candy, a couple of healing items, and an EXP candy small. So we mentioned that EXP candy mediums are 3,000 experience and larges are 10,000. Smalls are only 800. But the nice thing about smalls is they're quite a bit more common. And a lot of times they come in packs. So you'll have like a pack of 2 or a pack of 3, which can be very, very beneficial. Although I think we got rid of like all the 2 packs in this route. So forget what I just said.
Yeah, the double. Is there only one double S or is there another one?
I thought there was more than one, but I think I can only think of the one. Oh wait, literally just walked right
You just
past
bypassed it.
right past it. I thought it was more in the corner where the TM was.
So this is kind of a good time to talk about the other category, or the other mains that are used. So 2 of the mains that are primarily used for this category are Espathra and Medicham, and they are both caught in Paldea, right where Etiquette caught the Flittle. The other 2 that are primarily used are Gardevoir and Gallade, and those 2 routes will catch a level 20 static Curlia about 30 seconds away from where Etiquette just flew away from. So unfortunately, those runs have to get a bit further in the game before they can check out what their Pokemon is going to be for the run.
Yeah, and those are the ones that really want to start with Lechonk in your party, because you're not doing any catching or anything in Paldea before leaving. Just starting with Lechonk at the beginning of the run allows you to just do the 2 intentional deaths and then party manage sort of after those fights instead of before and after like I had to here.
Yeah, to shout out the originators of those routes, I believe Iron Dre and Headbob were the ones that are primarily working on Metacham. Spider has been working on Gardevoir. I took inspiration from Spider and also another member of the community, Powdernet, and shifted that into Gallade, since Curlier can evolve into either Gardevoir or Gallade. And both Etiquette and I believe Crisis have been putting in a lot of work on this current route, Espathra.
Yeah, and I actually, a Japanese runner, probably like the best Gen 9 Japanese runner, Carleo, was where I got the Espathra motivation from, or inspiration, I should say. I think Crisis got it independently. It was like literally the same day. But yeah, it's really interesting. Espathra is we'll talk more about why specifically Espathra in quite a bit when we're facing some rather large opponents. But it's a very cool Pokemon. It is a psychic type bird that has your typical special kind of move set. It learns psychic moves, it learns fairy moves, and those are going to be the primary two types that we're going to be utilizing.
And you'll notice that all 4 of the mains are actually psychic types.
Yes.
So it's pretty good for this category.
So there's sign number 2. Sign number 3 is not going to happen for a little bit, but we're going to do a whole lot of movement here. Kieran is basically, speaking of the story, Kieran is very, this isn't the right word, very interested in the ogre in the stories. So he's not so much interested in the loyal 3 Pokemon. He's a lot more interested in the ogre and how cool the ogre is. So he wants to show us the dreaded den, which is where the ogre is believed to have lived. So we're going to make our way over there. We're also going to grab a couple of fly points, including a little bit of new movement that I was told about literally while we were setting up for today's show.
Shoutouts to Headbob.
Shoutouts to Headbob.
That's the Headbob.
Headbob's a great runner. He was actually on Hotfix a couple of, like last month, was it, Etchy? For Oras.
Yeah.
So these little signposts here that you can see like right above my character's head, these are like the 6 sightseeing places. There's the similar thing in Paldea. I think there's 10 of them. And those are all considered fly points. So because I walked near that sign, we're going to get to fly back there later. And that's actually one of the only locations in the game that you have to go to more than once that doesn't have a fly point is that dreaded den. And so that's going to be a place we actually fly to quite a bit in order to get to that area.
Actually, with this new movement, technically you could skip that fly point and just go from the pool to the dreaded den.
Right. I probably could have skipped that full restore. I just didn't know of a backup one for me to grab because it's just a little bit out of the way. All right. Yeah, the big thing here is just avoiding encounters. You can see all of the encounters in the game, which is one of my favorite features of this game, especially compared to like Sword and Shield kind of had it, but also had those random encounters still. BDSP was a game, and Legends Arceus kind of had a mixed system as well, or not really a mixed system. It had a similar system to this. But I like that they're sort of keeping this because no truly random encounters is very nice.
Except for when they spawn on you and you have under 0.2 seconds to react.
Or the ones that
happened yesterday.
The ones that are just like under a tree, invisible. Yeah. All right, so we're going to go... We grabbed that fly point there. It'll be relevant a bit later on. And we're going to make our way down here. And I know people might be thinking, hey, why don't you go fight Cloth to get the fast run ability? It It is not worth it. It is just straight up slower. To sit through all those cutscenes. If there weren't cutscenes associated, it might be worth it. But there's just so much cutscene involved with that. Any of the Titans really, but that one in particular, that it just ends up not being worth it, even with all of this movement we're doing.
Also,
the other thing that's interesting is that without doing cloth, it opens up a lot more options for different mains.
Yes.
Like, if we were going to be doing cloth, of the 4 Pokemon that we currently use, Medicham is probably the only one that would actually be able to do cloth at a reasonable amount of time. So actually taking out cloth from the equation opens up the viability of a lot of other Pokemon.
Yeah, that's just so many resources that you have to invest into beating cloth outside of the overhead that you already get from the cutscenes as well.
Yeah, that's when I was saying earlier how like, oh, I had a Pokemon where I got up to like route where I got up to level 35. I got to level 35 because that's what this Flittle evolves at. And you know, in order to get to level 35 to get a 2-shot on cloth, it's not even a guaranteed 1-shot. It takes all that extra time. So, but we are almost done with the bulk of the movement of the run. This one little last stretch here. I'm gonna pick up one more candy, and then I should be good to pump them all into our Flittle, go from level 17 up to level 41 if I did everything correctly, which is not guaranteed. Let's give it a try. All right.
Right around the corner to the right is another folder store.
Yeah.
If you didn't know about that one.
All right, I'm good. Up to level 41. And believe it or not, this Pokemon here evolves into the second one. It's it's a Pokemon chain that needs a middle evolution, I swear. But this is Espathra, big psychic bird. One of the new Pokemon in Generation 9 has a very interesting ability that we are not using. Well, it's a 50-50 chance to have. And that was when I said earlier how I was like, I was mentioning that I had Frisk as my ability earlier. That is basically indicating that I have Frisk again on level up. If I had Anticipation earlier, I would have had Opportunist here, which is a interesting ability where if your opponent gets any stat changes, positive stat changes, the Opportunist Pokemon will copy it. And so that is very interesting when the champion of Paldea leads that, and speedruns always use X items.
Yeah, let's go set up on the first Pokemon. Oh, nope, we're not setting up on the first Pokemon because then it sets up on us.
Exactly.
I'd still set up on it for both my Victory Road routes. A physical attacker. What's it going to do? Quick attack me?
Yes.
Exactly.
All right. So something that happens, it happened with Sword and Shield as well, with their DLC. They try to allow you to do the DLC without beating the game by giving this kind of weird level scaling. The DLC starts around level 12 or so and finishes around level 40. Or I guess probably 35 realistically. So that's what happens if you haven't beaten the game. If you've already beaten the game, all of these Pokemon are level 60, 70, actually pretty high level. And quite a bit of a challenge.
And they have held items.
Yeah, and they can hold held items. There's a couple Pokemon with focus sashes. There are some berries involved. But because we haven't beaten the game, they are low level, and they don't scale to your level. They just scale to your progression. So. All right. I'm 54 minutes behind my PB right now.
Close.
When you mentioned Sword and Shield, I thought you were going to talk about the other thing
Nope.
that will become very, very apparent when it happens.
Yes. We're not talking about that yet.
Don't want to speak it into existence.
All right. So Kieran's showing us the dreaded den. Like I said, where the ogre is believed to have lived. And he starts to empathize, saying, "Oh, it must have been horrible living here, all cramped." It's pretty noble. I would tend to agree with him.
But there is an Ice Fang TM here.
There is an Ice Fang TM here. Yeah, one of the mains, it hasn't been routed yet, but we've thought about it being pretty good, is actually not a psychic type. It is Donphan. And if I had more time, I would have tried to put it together. It's probably not going to be as good as the current top runners, or front runners, I should say. But they are, it still has some potential. Essentially, the reason why psychic types and ground type like Donphan can be very good is there are a few troublesome Pokemon that are a psychic type. And so...
Poison.
Or poison. Wow, yeah. Are poison types. And so psychic and ground being the two types that are super effective against poison. Those are sort of the ones that people are gravitating most... or gravitating to the most. My first run of this, I did try to use Flamigo, and it did okay. But Flamigo's just not going to be the right answer for this category.
Bless.
Oh, actually, yeah, I just glanced over at chat. That is an important thing to mention. Obedience. Dynam, explain obedience.
So, obedience in Scarlet and Violet particularly, notice that we caught a Flittle at level 17, and we then promptly evolved it, and it is now level 41. Was that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So obedience occurs, or disobedience occurs, when you catch a Pokemon that is over the level of whatever sort of badge threshold you have. So we're starting at the beginning of the game. We can catch Pokemon up to and including level 20. For every badge that you get, that number increases by 5. So you go badge 1, 25, badge 2, 30, and so on and so forth. But as long as you catch the Pokemon below the threshold, it will obey you no matter what level it becomes. So that's why we're able to use things like this level 17 Flittle, use a bunch of XP candies on it, evolve it, get it to a high level, and it'll still obey us even though we currently have 0 badges in our arsenal.
Yeah. It's this kind of obedience mechanic started in Legends Arceus, actually. Prior to that, and a lot of people get this wrong, so it is worth mentioning. Prior to Legends Arceus, any Pokemon that you catch will always obey you. It does not matter what level you caught it. It does not matter what level it is now. It doesn't matter how many badges you have. If you caught it and you're its original trainer, it will always obey you. On the flip side, if a Pokemon was traded to you, so you are not the original trainer, that's when the level threshold will come into play for badges. And not just that, it would actually be possible to level out of obedience. So you could have a Pokemon that obeys you, and you level up one too many times, and now it doesn't obey you anymore. So I think this is a fantastic change, personally. It does allow for some, weird speedrun strats like this, but it is, I think, a better casual experience.
Mm-hmm. And the way that the obedience is set up here is what allows the Gardevoir and Gallade routes to work, because the routes line has a slow EXP curve, which means that it doesn't get nearly as much benefit from EXP candies as other Pokemon will. And so the fact that we're able to catch a level 20 static Kirlia every run and really maximize our starting XP is what really allows that route to work.
Yeah. So those are the only 2 times you're going to see me use the move Swift. You'll see I taught over Disarming Voice for Swift there. And both Morpeko and Mightyena are dark types, meaning Fairy would be super effective against them. However,
That's a good thing, right?
yeah, it's a great thing, except for the fact that you're going to notice every fight with Carmen and Kieran has a lot, and I mean a lot of flavor text. And if you remember back to Generation 8, we call them hop fights, or hop text, where if you get a critical hit, if you use a super effective move, your opponent will say something extra. And so those cutscenes end up adding up to the point where literally teaching a brand new TM to not use a super effective move on this fight is faster than just keeping the move we already have learned and using the super effective move. I just think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, which comes down to an interesting thing that's routing this category, because you are trying to balance if you want to set up or if you want to get or super effective text.
Or in the case of
in some
Gallade,
cases.
go for a critical hit.
Yeah. All right. So story-wise, we got invited to the Festival of Masks over at Hitakami Hall. So we're gonna make our way over there, and we're gonna do everyone's favorite minigame.
Ogre Austin is so much fun.
I was not a fan of it until I played it with other people and I got to play goalie. I don't know. I have an issue. My brain doesn't work in the way that the game needs it to work.
Oh, and one just kind of standard Scarlet and Violet thing that I don't think we explained, that I just happened to notice Etiquette do there, is as he entered the cutscene, he dismounted off of Koraidon, and that's because whenever you enter a cutscene or talk to someone, the game forces you to get off of your ride Pokemon, and it's just a little bit faster for us to do it ourselves than to have the game make us do it.
I've muscle memoried that so much, I forgot that was something special we did.
Me too. I completely did not think of it until I saw you do it at the top of the stairs. I'm like, oh yeah, that's not normal.
I was like, where's Spider going with this?
The interesting thing too, Etiquette mentioned that we're going to be heading back to the Dreaded Den a couple of times. There's a different cutscene trigger for every single time that you return to the Dreaded Den, so you just kind of have to remember when you're supposed to dismount. Otherwise, the game's like, nope, you're stopping right there.
Yeah. And the other thing that's kind of interesting with it too is like, you'll notice that when I'm dismounting, a lot of the time I like get flung off of Koraidon. And so you can kind of control the direction you get flung off. But sometimes, depending on like if there's steps near you, or I don't even know, like if something is too close to you, your character will just like stop in place and just fall to the ground. So you don't get flung off at all. And so sometimes it looks really silly where like you dismount super far before because you're expecting to get flung. And then all of a sudden you just have to walk the last like 10 feet. All right. We're going to go ahead.
Good job remembering to not hug the inside track there.
It takes everything in my power to not, because like, you want to hug the side because, you know, shorter path, faster running. And then the game is like, you don't want to leave the festival yet. All right. So this is Ogre Austin. Ogre Austin is a new minigame they added. It is playable with friends, which, again, like I said, is the way I would recommend doing it because I personally didn't really like it until I did it with friends. And essentially the way it works is you have 2 minutes to collect all the berries you need and then put them in the little things, the little tables here. And when you collect the berry, you can go like, boop, got it. And you can go put it on the right thing. You can collect as many as your bag can hold before coming back, and that's how you do it. you're going to notice I'm not actually doing the game. That's because it is slower to win. There are 3 rounds. And even though you can beat each round in less than the 2 minutes it would take to time out, you cannot win fast enough. There we go.
When I played through this casually and I got to this point, I'm like, there's no way we're gonna win. We're just gonna sit here for 2 minutes. And no one believed me.
I think it's worth doing if you have dash. But because we don't have dash, it is 100% not worth doing. But yeah, the complication here, the reason why this is actually a challenge, because this looks like it's not that much of a challenge, is because if you leave your stuff alone for too long, Pokemon will come and try and eat them, eat the berries. So right now we can fit everything into like a single bag, but eventually we wouldn't be able to. And so having to manage like what berries do I have to pick up? What berries do I still have to put on the table? Are there Pokemon eating my berries? Like managing all that is actually pretty difficult. And so it works really well with friends where you can give yourself different roles. Like when I was doing it, I was the goalie. So this was basically all I was doing.
Yeah, there's 3 different difficulty levels, and I think there are like 3 stages, 6 stages, and 10 stages for easy, medium, and hard. It can get exceptionally hectic at times, which, I mean, goalies are great for protecting the berries, and you send everybody else to go grab the berries and hope that everything works out in the end.
Exactly.
Hey, look, a little trophy animation.
Yeah. I did just lose time. And sometimes you'll do that mini game, and then at like level 3, Dynam will disconnect.
You didn't have to call me out like that on main.
It's not like it was your fault.
No.
We had to do the rest of it without you. We made it to level 10.
You almost
died.
made it. You're all god gamers. I'm just here for moral support.
All right. So there was this suspicious-looking kid, I think the game calls her. The child with a mask. Clearly child-shaped.
Normal child.
I guess it could be like a poncho or something. I don't know.
Very happy child. Question mark?
I mean, it looks more like an Among Us crewmate than a child.
You would.
I'm gonna be real.
It's a child imposter.
Oh no.
Oh, no. Why did you will this into existence?
Just got the 2 legs. Like, come on, it's clearly a crewmate.
Running away. Seems pretty sus.
I hate this.
This is one of the 2 movies we get to skip in the run, so that's exciting.
There was a movie there, you're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's how you get the teal mask.
Wow, the DLC's over. Time. Not, not really. Like when they say the name of the movie in the movie. But yeah, so basically, this is where the DLC story kind of takes a bit of a turn. And like I said, I think the story is very good. If you've not seen it, I highly recommend giving it a try. But this is where Carmine, being the protective older sister that she is, in addition to being a little bit of a bully, is basically trying to shield Kieran because she has some suspicions, as do we, that maybe that wasn't a child after all. Maybe that was actually the ogre from the stories. And so because Kieran is so interested and so obsessed with the ogre, she doesn't want him to get his hopes up. She doesn't want him to get too worked up about it. So she decides that we're going to keep this secret from him. at least until we go talk to their grandfather, who is a mask maker. We picked up the teal mask. The ogre, the child, sorry, dropped the mask and broke it. And so we're going to take the mask to grandfather, who is a mask maker.
You missed like Clefable rocking out in the community center.
Oh my god, I did. All right, wait. I have the stream up, which has a bit of a delay, so let me see if I can see it. I've never noticed it. It is so very right there.
It's living its best life.
I don't know how I've missed that.
It also makes its cry a lot. I'm also confused how you haven't noticed it.
Speaking of other cutscene triggers that are in different spots, this is one of them. Oh my god.
This one alternates.
Yeah.
Hey, you
So
gotta
it's a cutscene,
talk.
and then you talk to Grandpa, and then it's a cutscene, and then you talk to Grandpa.
This is also one of the other difficult portions of the run that's coming up in about a couple
Yes.
seconds. For some.
Yeah, this is very important. You have to show him the teal mask. And if you don't, you go through this whole animation. He's like, huh, this is interesting. And she's like, that's not what I said. And then you have to do it again. I may have tried every item in my bag to see if there was other text, and there wasn't.
I wonder if we could change the default sort so the teal mask would be on top. And if we just
We don't
smash
need
through.
another vote.
No, I just wasn't saying ahead of time. I'm just like, when you're teaching Swift, maybe
Yeah.
you change your bag sort.
Speaking of key items, one very important key item that we actually got from completing Ogre Ousting is called the XP Charm. And that effectively, basically, is if you're familiar with the Lucky Egg held item that increases the XP gained if you give it to a Pokemon, it's basically that, but for everything, essentially, which helps out a lot for routing the different mains that have been run for this category.
Yeah.
One other side effect of the badge thing we were talking about earlier is that in addition to having a effective level cap of the caught Pokemon that we can use of level 20, our experience gains cap out at level 25. So even when we beat a level 30 Pokemon in this run, because we have 0 badges, we get EXP as if the Pokemon had been level 25 instead. And so since we're getting that reduced EXP, the EXP charm really makes up for some of that lost XP.
Yeah. All right. So continuing with the story, this is casually speaking, this was actually one of my favorite parts of the DLC. Even though this is probably a cutscene that should be skippable. Here, grandfather is telling us the true story of what happened. So I mentioned earlier there was the folktale of the region where there was an ogre that was terrorizing the city, and these loyal 3 Pokemon fought off the ogre, lost their lives doing so, but were able to basically save the town from the ogre. And it turns out the way the story actually goes is the ogre, along with another man, were basically cast away from the town. They were seen as different and basically not accepted by the town. And the 3 Pokemon, rather than saving them from the ogre, actually went to the ogre's den to steal the ogre's stuff. The fate of the man is unknown. It's kind of implied that the Pokemon may have killed the man, to be quite honest. But the 3 Pokemon, were terrorizing the ogre, and the ogre basically handled the lousy 3, as Carmine puts it. And so it turns out actually the story is the exact opposite. The ogre's actually the good one. and the 3 Pokemon were kind of being devious in their ways. So she decides once again, we're going to keep this from Kieran, mostly because they don't want the town to know, because, you know, once the town believes one thing, if they end up finding out like their whole faith system is based on a lie, then they might, you know, revolt, things like that. And so she says, you know, Kieran's probably going to tell the town, so we can't really tell him, not until he's older and understands it. So, but as you can see, Kieran may have overheard. So, I think I got the story there, right?
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that is solidly accurate.
Heck yeah.
For people, yeah, it's based off of the Japanese folk tale of Momotaro. I'm going to omit a couple of things because DLC 2 spoilers possibly, but it basically is, there's a boy that goes around and has some animal companions and goes and beats up a couple of ogres and demons on his adventure. So, if you're wondering, I think somebody in chat had pointed that out earlier, so I wanted to give that a quick mention.
Nice, I did not know that. But yeah, here we go basically find Kieran, and he asks us basically what was going on. We have to lie to him because we told Carmine that we would keep the secret. And then he very much was like, wait, why did you lie to me? Because we're supposed to be friends. So now Kieran, this is our final signpost that we are going to read to finish out the fake lore of the region. And you can kind of tell that Kieran is really not having it. He's, you know, body language is very different. He's just not having a good time.
As an aside, congrats on first try fly.
Yeah, well, it was first time fly to Paradise Barrens, but not to Kieran. I actually selected Kieran. And this is going to be our first instance of a range. So even though we are very high level, there are still some Pokemon that are not guaranteed for us to win. Or we're guaranteed to win for the most part, but we're not guaranteed to one-shot. So the first one of those is actually on this fight here. Against not the Furret, but the Pokemon After, which is one of the new Pokemon added in the DLC. And it's a surprisingly bulky.
Does Spathra see? Sorry. Does Spathra see baby doll eyes from the Furret
Sometimes.
ever? Okay.
Yeah.
Pokemon AI is weird, so I have to ask questions like that sometimes.
Yeah. Here's Diplin, new Applin evolution. Very bulky for no reason. And there we go.
It's a delicious candied apple.
And you can kind of see Kieran, like I said, having a hard time with this. And you can even see his body language. One of the things I actually really like is, so as you do these signposts, you get these pictures. And in the first picture, you're doing a pose, and you can see Kieran kind of like shyly also doing the pose, but not quite as intense as you are. And in the second one, you're doing a different pose, and Kieran's doing the same pose, and it's almost the same level of enthusiasm. Like he's like overcome his shyness and things like that. And then this third and last one, you can see the difference in poses here between the two of us. I tried to time that, but there was a lot more dialogue than I thought.
You gave it a shot.
I know. Oh, man. All right, yeah, so here you can see he's just not even having it. Like, you're giving the double thumbs up. He's just like, I don't even know why I'm here. But speaking of timing things like that, that was actually one of the funny things about my GDQ run, was trying to time the Lechonk intentional death. like lead up to it with like a, oh no, we messed up and we have Lechonk in our party. It's actually really hard to do when there's so much dialogue. All right. Don't know why I hopped on. Right on. All right. So here, our school assignment's done, but we're going to continue on with our interest in the ogre and things like that. So we're going to go find Carmine. Oh, that Clefable's just always there, huh?
Yep, it's just missing from the first time you go in the community center.
Literally. It just stopped raining. All right, cool. Yeah, so in order to fix the mask, we want to fix the mask and give it to the ogre. Now that we know the truth. But Grandpa mentions he needs more material from the crystal pool. So that's that fly point we grabbed earlier. We're gonna be able to fly directly there and just initiate the cutscene immediately, which is really nice. We have probably one of the most random battles, and I don't know why there's a battle here. I mean, it adds something to do, but it's I feel like there's no context. It's just like, here's a melodic. I don't know how to pronounce it.
No, we don't.
Imagine if we had to get swim just for this one part.
It's Bombardier that
Yeah, it's
gives swim,
Bombardier.
right? Okay, that wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah. And this is actually one of the cases where by doing this fight earlier than later, we actually probably don't win as fast as we would. So if you were to do this in like the post-game version of the fights, you're going to be facing a melodic that's like level 70, I think. However, the Morpeko is going to have a better moveset and can basically just one-shot the thing. Or maybe not one-shot, but will definitely be able to do a lot of damage, a lot more than that. And Morpeko has this really great ability where it changes form every turn. So the less time it's on the field, the better. And I crit that. How many crits this turn? Or this run?
Gardevoir can one-shot it naturally. So.
Of course. Sheesh. All right. I don't need to hear it. Pathra was like the fastest Pokemon until Friday, okay? All right. And then Miss Briar randomly shows up here for no apparent reason. Definitely not doing evil stuff. It's not confirmed that she's evil, but like I'm pretty sure she's evil. I know. Super Chairman Rose vibes. All right. So we're gonna make our way back to Kieran's house now that we have the crystal stuff that's supposed to help with the mask. And it's gonna turns out that Kieran actually came by and stole the mask. I know. Because he apparently knows everything. Shocker. I don't know how the player was supposed to know that he knows everything. And then we're going to have to go battle him to get it back. And I think after that battle is probably a good time for our next break.
Yeah, sounds good. Just count it in whenever you are ready to do so.
All right. So this battle's right here. This is probably in for this particular route. This is the one battle where having really good stats helps. For the most part, it's basically that one range I mentioned earlier, a couple of defensive things that we'll get to later. And then this fight here, there are two Pokemon in this fight that have ranges that you would have to go for. If you have a very, very good Espathra, like talking plus special attack 25 IV, 25 out of 31, so very high, then you can be guaranteed to one-shot everything. But otherwise, you have to go for a couple of ranges. Generally, it's going to be better to just use an X special attack. Problem with using an X special attack is you're going to be hit with a super effective move, which is also going to trigger flavor text. So in addition to us using super effective moves, if our opponent uses a super effective move, it gives us flavor text. So it is very beneficial to go for and just hit the ranges. My two ranges are a 9 and 16 and a 10 and 16. So I'm going to go for
Go
them.
for those. Yeah.
Just because it's funny. The problem is the worst one is the Cramorant, which does have dive, and I just don't want to deal with that.
Oh yeah, dive's a problem. One thing that's interesting that Kieran does that actually kind of mimics Hop from Sword and Shield is that he will start making changes to his team and adding and removing Pokemon. So in this fight, he no longer has his Furret, and in the next fight, the Cramorant will be gone.
Oh, Surf also does the stupid ability too, huh? Oh, I'm about to get paralyzed. Luckily, I have a full restore. Thing's not going to do anything to me, right?
Hypnosis, probably.
Don't say it. I'm paralyzed. The AI would be so dumb to go for hypnosis.
Yeah, but the AI likes to go for double yawn, so...
All right, that's fair. All right. The worst part is that wasn't the only range on the fight. There's this one too. I don't think Diplin like has anything though. So
It'll use the sticky syrup.
of course
Whatever it is. Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So yeah, we'll take a break when I get control. I'll do a countdown best I can. And we're in the home stretch. Oh, this is such a good cliffhanger for the break, too. I just realized. I forgot there was this whole cutscene afterward.
And this is the second movie that we skipped.
All right. Uh-oh.
I'm sure it's fine.
For the monument for the lousy 3. Uh-oh. There they are. Little rascals. Yeah, so these are the 3 Pokemon, the loyal 3, from the lore, the ones that were beating up the ogre or stealing the ogre's stuff, and we somehow resurrected them, or Kieran did. We don't know, and now they're off to go do their rambunctious things. Yeah. Really?
I had to go frame by frame to see
Really?
it.
So that fist has got to be what has awakened them, I guess.
All right, so let's pause. 3, 2, 1, go.
Awesome. All right, thank you, Etiquette, for that second leg of our Teal Mask speedrun here. Again, this is not the end of the run. There is still the finale of the speedrun coming up. We are going to take a quick little break. We'll be back in just a few minutes, so don't go anywhere. I do want to make a quick announcement, though, that GDQ is hiring. If you're a business developer or have experience in recruiting sponsorships and would like to work for GDQ, please apply at gamesdonquick.com/jobs. And also a regular reminder that your subs, Prime Gaming subs, gift subs, and bits cheered on the GDQ Twitch channel help support Games Done Quick Hotfix. Please consider subscribing if you enjoy the daily speedrunning content, and we'll be back in just a few minutes with the rest of this Teal Mask speedrun. Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the Games Done Quick Hotfix. We're in the middle of our Teal Mask speedrun here. Before we get back into it, I just wanted to make some good announcements. One is that if you missed out on any of our Hotfix shows or past events like Flame Fatales, be sure to check out the VODs on youtube.com/gamesdonequick. And if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to press the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel. Also go to twitch.tv/gamesdonequick if you're interested in looking at our live content. Spiel here, graciously chiming in for the run here. I don't know where Etiquette went, but Spiel can finish off the run for sure. I have complete confidence in him. And I think we're going to go ahead and throw it back to Spiel to count us back into the run.
Hi, everyone. I'm Spiel. All right. I would
Spiel
actually,
talk?
I would actually try to play like that, but I actually had to hold it up with one hand, so I couldn't hold the controller. But
The Spiel map.
the Spiel mask.
Oh no!
All right.
That's so good.
Let's go ahead and get started again with the final bit of this speedrun. Starting in 3, 2, 1, go. All right. Where am I even flying to? There we go.
We need to do more ogre ousting. That's what we need in this speedrun.
Yeah. All right. So now that the loyal 3 are, resurrected, I guess is the best way to put it. We are trying to figure out what mischief they're up to. Turns out they showed up at the Kitakami Hall and basically took the 3 masks. And the townspeople just let them have them because to the townspeople, those 3 are the heroes of the story, not the villains. So they took those, so we're gonna have to go get them back. Help out our buddy Ogre Pawn. This feels actually heavy, by the way.
How big is that?
I don't remember the exact size, but it's like probably like it's like a sphere, which is part of the problem. It's not like, oh, it's 40 inches tall, but it's like smaller. It's like, no, it's gonna be like 36, 40 inches in all directions.
One thing that somebody pointed out in chat, so the weird thing is that Kitakami Mochi, if we had one ogre oustin, we would have gotten like some like mochi, like health mochi and things like that. Those work exactly the same as the vitamins in this game. So things like HP up, protein, carbos, all that jazz. So effectively, yeah, the villagers did in fact EV train the loyal 3 for us. We'll see those in a second.
But yeah, they went a little bit overboard on the HP mochi though.
A little bit, yeah.
Just a tad.
I forgot where that cutscene trigger was. All right. Yeah, so now we can see, if we didn't believe Grandpa's story before, we can definitely see it now. The loyal 3 are just completely bullying Ogerpon here. So all 3 of these Pokemon we're gonna have to face at some point. We're gonna face Monkey Dory right now. Yes, that's the name. It's Monkey Dory. And they all have the same. They all have different typings. So they're all Poison type, and then Monkey Dory is Psychic type. Okidogi, which is the dog. Can't say that with a straight face. Okidogi is Fighting type, and Pheasantipity is a Fairy type. Oh my god, almost.
Oh, you're gonna see the crit text?
And so yeah, we have to deal with them. This is why, like we mentioned earlier, poison or psychic type Pokemon are very good for this category at the moment. Because all of them except for Monkey Dory have a weakness to psychic. And even Okidogi actually has a 4x, like a 4 times weakness, so it's even better. So we're just gonna go ahead and take care of them. They all also have the same ability, which is Toxic Chain, which is actually a pretty busted ability, where every move that they use has a 30% chance to inflict the opponent with toxic poison. And you know, that can waste a ton of time if you get unlucky there. So hopefully we don't see it too much, but it can definitely happen. All right, so here Kieran is apologizing for stealing the mask. And we're basically going to try to get the masks back from those 3 Pokemon to give back to Ogerpon. We're going to start working with Ogerpon here. However, Kieran's not going to come along. Kieran decides he wants to do something else. I don't think it's really said what he's working on. Or actually, I know he's working on. We're going to see it later. For now, it's just going to be us and Ogerpon. But before we can do that, we need to go figure out where the Loyal 3 went off to. So we have to go back to town and talk to some of the villagers to see where we should go next.
One thing that's kind of funny about this one is that here Carmine says that we're going to keep Ogerpon with us to keep her safe. And then 10 seconds later, we go to town and we leave Ogerpon behind.
Yes. Really nice that you can just fly to the town and then the game will just bring you to the outskirts of town, which is where you're supposed to actually go. Because even though we're with Ogerpon, because the rest of the town doesn't understand or doesn't know what we know about the stories, we can't just bring the ogre into the middle of town. They would all lose their minds. So she does unfortunately have to stay outside.
Did you explain, I might have just missed it. Did you explain Lumina Crash's secondary effect?
I haven't yet. I was planning to do it with the next fights. Because it's basically the reason why it's so good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Thankfully, it's just a pretty quick jaunt around town for these 3 NPCs that give us the information. I remember playing through this on my casual file. I could not find like the last person that I needed.
Yeah.
just kind of strewn about town and
Well, it's weird because like the first two are right next to each other, and then this one's just all over in the other corner of town. All right, so now we're going to go and find all three of the loyal three, and go fight them to get the masks back. First one we're going to do is Pheasantipity. The order effectively doesn't matter. For this particular route, I'm not gaining any levels or anything in this period of time. I actually gain a level on the final one, whatever the final one is. So you can really do it in any order. I usually do it in this order, where I do Pheasantipity first, then Okie Dokie, and then Monkey Dory. But I think the reverse order is fine. Usually you just want to do whatever order you think like minimizes movement on the map. But the other thing is you're actually going to get a free heal on the way into all of them, or on the way out of all of them, I should say, not on the way in. So whichever one you're doing first is probably the one that you want to be the best equipped for, health-wise. And actually, it might make sense for me to do Okie Dokie first in that case. I lied. I'm going to do Okie Dokie first and be really inefficient with my map movement.
Do the EVs that you get from Monkey Dory not matter?
No.
Okay. I wasn't sure because I get the calcium, so my EVs turned out differently.
Yeah, I think you hit 7, which just, you need to hit 8 for it to matter. So you probably hit 17, which brings you over 16.
Yeah, that sounds right.
All right. So here's Okie Dokie, and you can see he's a lot bigger than normal. Welcome to the Titanic Pokemon. So instead of having the legendary Titans, you have these 3 Titanic Pokemon they have to defeat. They are effectively a level 35 Pokemon with 4 times the amount of health that they're supposed to have. So it is a lot of health. And so Spider was mentioning earlier, Lumina Crash, which is our main move, has a very, very nice secondary effect, which is every time it hits, the special defense of the opposing Pokemon, or the Pokemon that it hits, will go down by 2 stages, which is effectively half when you use it once, and then the ratio changes. But you can essentially half the special defense of the opponent. And it's an 80 base power move, which is almost as good as the move like Psychic, right? So it's a very, very good move. And for these Pokemon that have way too much health, it is super beneficial. Now, this first Pokemon we're going up against is Okie Dokie, which has the 4 times weakness to Psychics. So we don't really need the secondary effect because this is just going to obliterate it. But it's going to be very useful for the other 2. And I guess while we're doing this, this would actually be a great time for Spider and Dynam, I don't know which one wants to go first, to explain how your routes go. Because I think when I think of the routes, I think of these 3 fights as being like the defining factors. Like, how do you get through the Titans as fast as possible? And then everything else just kind of falls into place. So I'm curious to hear what like the main, focus of your routes are.
Yeah, so for Gardevoir, we force Terra Psychic. So if I get a Terra Fairy Curly, I'll just reset. And so then for Okie Dokie, my strat is just Terra Psychic and use the move Psychic, and it one-shots. So I don't need to do that setup turn, but I do have to Terra.
Yeah, for Gallade, it's a little bit of a different story. Terra Psychic isn't absolutely necessary. It can be nice to, if you're looking at a couple of sort of niche ranges, to have Terra Psychic because of Psycho Cut. Monkey Dory gets obliterated by Night Slash, thankfully, so you can just set up the next attack. Hopefully more Peko Leers, and then you can just Night Slash for the kill on that. Okie Dokie is pretty interesting. So for Gallade, the moveset that I use for Gallade is Sacred Sword plus 3 increased crit ratio moves. So if you get lucky, you can sort of blast through Okie Dokie's plus 2 defense. Each of these Titanic Pokemon will gain a +2 increase to one of its stats: Okidogi defense, Pheasantipity speed, and I think Monkey gets special defense. But if you just crit, you just completely ignore the defense boost. And if you get really lucky, you can just one-shot Okidogi, which is really nice because one thing that you'll see probably either on this fight or the next fight is when you land an attack, when you land a super effective hit on one of the Titan Pokemon, or if you crit one of these Pokemon, Carmine will have flavor text for you. And if you happen to get all 3 within the same hit, she'll just rattle off flavor text one after the other after the other. So as you noticed, Etiquette one-shot Okidogi with a +2 Lumina Crash or Stamp and X special attack, and we got none of that dialogue, which saves a bunch of time.
Yeah. There's also, it might be the same text you get for the critical hit, but you also get flavor text for the stat dropping moves. So you're going to see here when I use Lumina Crash turn 1, I'm actually going to get extra flavor text because I drop stats as well. So we'll get both the super effective and the stat dropping one. It might be the same as the critical hit one. Not exactly sure, but yeah.
Yeah, and one thing that you'll see here for Espathra, so both Pheasantipity and Monkey Dory have much better special defense than defense. And that's because for Monkey Dory, it just gets a +2 special defense boost. Espathra's way around that is to use Lumina Crash to slowly lower that special defense so that each hit does more and more. Gardevoir's way around that is a bit more interesting in that it will... I go and pick up the Psyshock TM, which is a very interesting move because it is a special move that actually targets the defense stat of the other Pokemon. So I get to completely bypass their improved special defense because I'm targeting their defense instead. So it actually ends up working out fairly well.
This is a bit of a predicament I'm in. Getting Poison Jab turn 1. Getting Poison Jab turn 2, I have to heal here. So ideally, you actually get Dazzling Gleam turn 1. And Dazzling Gleam has a chance of one-shotting the Morpeko, which is actually, believe it or not, good.
I calced it the other day. It's exactly a 50-50 to one.
Is it? Okay. Because you can see, like, the Morpeko's not doing much in terms of damage output here, so we really can't count on them to do it for us. So if you do have Opportunist as your ability, this is the one fight where it's actually beneficial because when the Pheasantipity gets its stat boost at the beginning of the fight, you would also get the same stat boost. So its speed goes up by 2 stages, so does ours. And we would continue to outspeed, and I wouldn't have actually had to heal there. I would have been able to just finish it off with that. Actually, my speed was high enough. I don't think I knew that. My speed was high enough that I outsped after the Ogerpon speed boost. Interesting.
Ostriches be fast.
Yeah, apparently. But yeah, these fights, because they are sort of like fights with a partner, it is possible for you to faint or your Pokemon to faint, but the fight to continue, and you can even win. However, a team full of dark types going up against the fairy type is not exactly the one you want to bank on. So
yeah, Carmine's team is uniquely horrible for all 3 Titans. If you consider her 4 Pokemon in the 3 fights, she has a grand total of 2 decent matchups.
yeah, and this is one of them. Oops. Yeah, so this is the one that gains the special defense boost, and you're really gonna see the power. Like, you kind of can see it in the previous fight, but this fight in particular, you will really see the power of Lumina Crash. we're going to go ahead, because this is also not only the one that has the special defense boost, but it's also the only one that we don't actually have the type advantage over. Psychic resists Psychic. So it being Poison Psychic means it cancels out, and we're actually just neutral attack against it. So
My PB two-shot it. I'm never going to get that again.
Jeez. Yeah, this here, you're going to see does not a lot. But this will add up. Yeah, that's the flavor text for the stat drop. It spited the Morpeko, which did nothing because it hadn't gone yet. That's really funny.
Yeah, I see turn 1 spite from it fairly frequently, and it outspeeds Gardevoir.
Oh.
So if it goes for turn 1 spite, it always fails.
All right, so now we did a little bit more. Oh, now spite again. Honestly, the more spites you see, the better, because the less chance you have of getting toxic chained, which wastes time. So,
Unless you get another one.
yes,
Then
then I'm
you're
in
in
trouble.
trouble.
Although I can switch to confusion, but yeah.
I am very much in trouble because I can't use a different move other than Psyshock if I get double spited.
Clear Smog is fine.
Just won't do anything.
And there's Toxic Chain, yeah.
Of course.
Classic game. All
Back
those
when
stat changes I
Flamigo-
didn't have.
Back when Flamigo was initially used for this fight, Clear Smog has the added ability of remove. It's basically a targeted haze. It will remove any stat changes on the Pokemon that lands on. And if you say try to set up an X attack on Flamigo and you get Clear Smogged, that's just bad news for you.
I'm gonna get the special defense boost, please. KO. Use bite, thank you. All right, we're good.
Carmine finally got the last hit that she's been looking for.
I love this death animation. I don't know why. It's funny. He just like stumbles over. All right.
Wobble wobble.
All right, so now we hit level 43. Level 43 for Espathra is quite important because this is the level that we learn a move called Dazzling Gleam. So we saw Dazzling Gleam on the Pheasantipity fight, but Dazzling Gleam is going to be the only way we can get through the Dark types on both Kieran and the Carmine fights coming up. Both Kieran and Carmine have a couple of Dark types, and Psychic is... or Dark is immune to Psychic, so we can't even like do not very effective damage to it. We just can't do any damage. And the only other move we have Swift, which is not very powerful, and Quick Attack, which obviously also not very powerful. So teaching Dazzling Gleam is the way to go. And we have to make sure we do it before the next fight. I'm gonna wait and do it when I fly to Dreaded Den later. But that's basically what this experience route is centered around, is making sure you have level 43 specifically for this next fight. Because it's not even like the next fight I need it, it's the next Pokemon I face I need the move. Alright. So while we were off fighting the Loyal 3, Kieran went ahead and talked to all the villagers, explained the story about how Ogre Pond was actually the victim. And the villagers all were very receptive and very apologetic toward the Ogre Pond because they were misled. So, pretty wholesome moment.
They do sure do an about face pretty quick, though.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, Kieran talks to them for 5 minutes, and they're like, oh, yeah, all our traditions are wrong.
Yeah, and now that the town's all good, there is no more conflict in the story.
Yeah. The story's
Absolutely
basically
none.
over. I don't see how there could be any more conflict in the story, actually.
Nope, not at all.
Everything's good. We're going to go back to the dreaded den to basically, let Ogrepon go home. She's been traveling with us. We're going to take her home. Oh, every time.
Every single time. You turn around and there's a Pokemon there and you think you're going to get an encounter, but it's just Ogrepon.
Oh, man. Oh, I need to teach the move. I literally just said I need to teach the move and I just didn't do it. Oh, that's plus speed. That's probably why. Like 118 speed is really high. All right. This cutscene trigger, I feel like, is earlier than I ever think. Nope.
No, this one's also
Apparently
late.
really late. Never mind.
The first one is early, the other two are late.
All right. So this is Kieran 5. Yes, this is actually the 5th time we're fighting him. And this is, for this particular route, this is the most dangerous fight in the run. We don't have enough special attack to one-shot the lead, which is a shift tree. And shift tree can deal a lot of damage to us.
For some reason, this shifter knows fake out, but will never choose the
I
move.
know, it's so frustrating.
Unlike every other Pokemon that knows fake out in a Pokemon game ever,
Yeah.
this shifter just refuses to use it.
Including this game. Like, the Turo fight at the end of Violet, there's an Iron Hands that has fake out. It uses fake out. Like... And yeah, so speaking of no conflict for the rest of the run, whoops, I don't know what happened there.
You're trying to sneak up on him, get the advantage.
So we're about to leave Ogrepon. Ogrepon was like, no, don't leave, take me with you. And Kieran's like, actually, I want Ogrepon to come with me. I know this is really selfish, but I really want this. So let's battle, and whoever wins can have Ogrepon.
This battle theme goes super
It
hard.
does. This is like straight out evil team music, but it's just for your rival. Come on, one time for the fans. Fake out.
Really? Well, after Lechonk got crit 3 times. Nope.
Oh, that's actually
Ooh.
tragic. Okay. So the problem is this Yen Mega coming up has quick attack. I don't know if it's guaranteed to use quick attack. If it can kill. It's guaranteed to kill, so I feel like it's going to. The problem is if you don't heal, or if you heal and it doesn't use quick attack, it can just one-shot you. All right, we're good.
Never worried.
I was actually terrified. 'Cause I wonder if it's like a Crash or Wake thing from BDSP, where it's like if it will only use quick attack if all rolls of quick attack will kill.
Sure.
Maybe, I don't know. This is a guess.
And the one thing to note there is that having to heal that turn actually didn't even lose a turn, because Etiquette would have had to heal for this Probo Pass anyway, because this thing has Sturdy, so it's going to take us 2 hits to knock it out.
Yeah, and Lumina Crash coming in clutch because we don't even two-shot, but now that its special defense dropped by 2 stages, we definitely do. The weird calc going Yes, I only have to do 33% damage, and now I two-shot. It is possible on some special attacks to Lumina Crash here and save super effective text, but I've already used a super effective move this fight, so using another one doesn't hurt. Aside from like this slight delay while the text is being displayed.
And when move animations come into play, it might be faster to get that super effective text anyway.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. That's Kieran 5 down. Yeah, it's the combination of payback plus quick attack being able to kill you, but not always, but sometimes, is really scary going into this one fight. And it's like the third to last fight in the run.
It's a bit less scary for Gardevoir because I can one-shot the shift tree without having to set up. So then I can set up on the Gliscor instead, if need be.
Yeah. The benefits of actually being a fairy type.
Right.
Like Espathra is pure psychic. It just happens to gain fairy coverage move. But Gardevoir, being part fairy, just benefits from that. Gardevoir was actually, before I thought of Espathra, or I take no credit for Espathra. I didn't think of it. I was tipped off that Carleo had something cooking, and I peeked. But when I was just looking at things, Gardevoir was something I was like, huh, type-wise, this makes a lot of sense. All right. So now that we've won the Ogerpon from Kieran, we are actually going to battle it as well to get our, or to basically prove to it, or prove to her our worth. And this fight is really cool. So Ogerpon has a special characteristic to it where it has 4 masks, and each of the 4 masks will change its type, changes its ability, all this kind of stuff. They have different moves, different terras. It's really, really cool. And like there's special terra masks and everything. It's honestly really cool Pokemon. Absolutely busted competitively, by the way. And this fight's actually going to take us through all 4 stages, which is really cool. And this is also the reason why Opportunist, I think, is not the way to go for this, even though it's beneficial for the Pheasantipity fight. Every one of these stages, Ogerpon gets a stat boost. And so every single one of them, we would also get a stat boost. And it just ends up being a little bit too slow. But yeah, that is essentially it.
One thing that's
We have to
interesting.
sit through the animations, but
Yeah. One thing that's interesting about this fight is that every time Ogerpon switches masks, the boosts that she got from that mask go away. So that
Yes.
attack boost that she got on the first turn doesn't carry through the rest of the fight. But our boosts actually do persist. So that X special is with us for the entire 4 masks.
yeah, which is really funny with Opportunists because it's like attack boost, special defense boost, special attack boost, or defense boost, and then speed boost.
Yeah, the other like minor thing about this fight, as opposed to if you were to use Ogerpon in a battle by yourself, when Ogerpon does its little like you terrestrialize Ogerpon, it's got the mask associated with it. It still retains its grass typing. It's naturally grass if you use it. But in this fight, or these series of 4 mask fights in particular, it is a pure whatever type the mask is. So the first Hearthflame one is pure fire. The next Wellspring one is pure water. This Cornerstone one is pure rock. And then the final Teal mask is where it reverts back to pure grass.
Yeah. And it is also worth mentioning, so this is effectively a level 20 Pokemon that we're facing. Because of like the level cap and obedience and all that stuff, they made the Ogerpon only level 20. Because at the end of this, we're going to be catching it. Slight spoilers for like 2 minutes from now. We are going to catch it. And because the game allows us to catch the Pokemon, like they have to make it obey us as well. So it's only level 20. but it has a 75% health increase. Now, something you might be thinking is even with the like attack boost it had, a level 20 Pokemon did a lot of damage to us. And that's because I believe it's like every one of its moves gets an extra 20% boost to it or something to that effect. Like people originally thought it was like only the stab types got like an extra boost, but it's actually every move. It's a shame that it takes so long to get because it would actually be a really cool like speedrun Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, shoutouts to Anubis, by the way, who is really well known in the Pokemon community for data mining things and reverse engineering mechanics. She was the one to supply us with the official confirmation of what the loyal 3 stats are in Ogerpon stats. Interestingly enough, even though it's coded in the game to be a 75% health increase, it got truncated down to just 70%, oddly enough.
Forgot about that.
Math, how does it work?
Which actually is good for Gardevoir because at some IVs, 75% would be a range and 70% is never a range.
For Espathra, sometimes 70%. It's worst case. If you don't take minus special, worst case, it's a 14 and 16. So it's not that bad.
Sure.
But yeah. All right. So now we have one fight left before the run is over. And it's going to be against Carmine. So Carmine basically wants to see the power of Ogerpon. And so she's going to have us fight her again. But this time with Ogerpon in our party. So we're going to have to make sure that we use that.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Clefable. I don't believe it was there the whole time. I think it got patched in.
Always been there. I don't know what to tell you.
Ed has spent one too many times trying to catch a Clefable in Mount Moon and Let's Go, and it's just completely obliterated from its mind.
Oh wait, I'm supposed to. I thought I was going to the house, but I'm actually just going straight here. All right, so let me make sure Ogerpon's in my party. Oh yeah, it's here. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's perfect. Wait.
Oh,
What are you?
no!
Wait, what? No, what are you doing?
Oh no. Jeez.
Oh, now Carmine's not gonna fight you.
I hope Carmine still fights us. She like does not want. If Ogerpon's in your box, she doesn't fight you. So I don't know what's gonna happen here.
Look, you all bonded over getting Ogerpon its masks back and everything.
You did that many so fast. I feel like half the people didn't pick up on what you did.
Yeah. So Ogerpon was released. So we mentioned at the very, very start of the run how there are 3 options that we always set at the beginning of every Pokemon speedrun. You have fast text speed, animations off, battle style to set. Animations we can't turn off. That's just not available. Battle style also can't change. It's always on switch battle style. And because the game forces you to have Ogerpon in your party for this fight, you will get switch text between every single one of the turns, or like every Pokemon you defeat, you're going to get switch text. And it just so happens that it's about 5 seconds faster for you to actually go through the effort of releasing Ogerpon than it is to sit through the fight with the special text. So, yeah.
Makes it 2 for 2 on DLCs where you release the legendary Pokemon to go fast.
It's so funny. And it sucks in this one because like the Kung Fu just like is kind of there, you know, in Sword and Shield. He's not really like doing all that much for you. Ogerpon's like right there with us the whole time. Like she's grown fond of us. We had to battle her. We won her from Kieran and everything. And then we just immediately go, nope.
Yeah, in Isle of Armor,
gone.
In Isle of Armor, we release Cub Fu before we get a chance to be friends. But here it's more tragic because we're already friends.
Yeah.
even more tragic, the fact that you won it from Kieran essentially, and then you just
Well, you
released
did the
it.
same thing to
They
Clara.
never-
You beat Clara to get Cub Fu, and then you immediately released it.
Well, like, but Kieran, like, I mean, Kieran's like obsessed with the ogre too,
Mhm.
and we just like, nope. By the way, she's gone. And yeah, like I said, this is basically the final fight. There are a bit of cutscenes left, but that is effectively the run. It's a really cool run. I think it's still got room to grow. Like I said, the route I'm doing right now was the fastest route, I think, on Friday, and it got beat on Saturday. Like it is changing. There are still Pokemon being explored, so it's definitely an exciting thing. And if you're interested in doing the run, luckily, like I said, you don't have to do that whole intro part. You have to do it one time to set up your save file. But it's not like other single stories in that there are a lot of like heavy requirements for stats or things like that. You essentially are just, all three of the starters are just not going to be good for this. Meowscarada is a grass type, which means all those poison moves are going to destroy you. Quaquaval is just probably not good enough. Fighting isn't really going to be beneficial. And then Crocalor is just a little bit too slow to really be useful. So none of the starters are really going to be worth it. So you can pretty much set up any save file you want, and then you can just kind of explore, either follow one of the existing routes or just explore something new. And it's really exciting to see where the category goes. It's only been like 2 or 3 weeks. So. All right. Fly back to town. One last look at everybody. One last goodbye. We also mentioned earlier, this is part 1 of a 2-part DLC. And so this ending is kind of setting us up for the second part, where we're actually, instead of being in sort of this like, special area where representatives from Naranja and Blueberry Academies are, coming to visit, we're actually going to be able to go to Blueberry Academy, which is going to be really cool, which is where Kieran and Carmine are from. And Carmine does a really good job of hammering it home that this is not goodbye. We're going to see each other again. I'm going to be in the second DLC, I swear. He says it like 4 times. I love.
She also mentions how she hates other people coming in from her hometown.
I was about to say, I
Classic
love this whole
Carmine.
speech. She's like, I thought you all were going to suck, but then I talked to you and you're actually okay. Especially you, Hotfix. You're okay.
I think I saw a YouTube comment on like Kieran's battle theme about how the custody battle over the main character between Nimona and Carmine is going to be legendary. I cannot wait to see what happens in the DLC
Oh
too.
my. Definitely not goodbye. See? And then she leaves.
Where is she going? There's nothing over
That's
there.
not even the direction of her house. I just noticed that.
Like, that's not even towards the bus stop. There's nothing over there.
Gonna run all the way back to
Okay.
Unova. I mean, we don't know where they are. Like, we had to fly to get here. We could be
True.
anywhere.
Although I think Blueberry Academy is a floating island thing.
All right, fair. She's gonna swim.
Okay.
Oh, what's this? Oh no. This was a really cool moment. Time's coming up, by the way.
No character goes down their villain arc when they change their hairstyle.
Oh no. Just you wait, Hotfix. And time.
GG.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Etiquette. Any other shout outs? I know you kind of did some of them already, but any other shout outs? I did want to say before, sorry, I wanted to say first, everyone should follow Etiquette, Dynam, and Spider. I believe Dynam's Twitch name is just Dynam _
Yep.
Spider, is yours just Spider
Yep.
C? Or is
Just
there an
Spider
underscore
C.
too? Okay, yep. Just Spider C. Etiquette is Etiquette. You can follow Etiquette if you just hover over his name on the title. You can just click the little heart, follow instantly. But go ahead and do whatever other shout outs you want to do.
Yeah, I think the only thing I wanted to say, like I said earlier, if you are interested in this run in particular or any other Switch Pokemon game, definitely recommend the Switch Pokemon Speedrunning Discord. You can find a link to it in any of the Switch Pokemon games on speedrun.com. There's a lot of great resources there, a lot of people willing to help. This particular category is a little bit in flux, so you might not find like the best resources for like how to written resources for how to do things, but people are always willing to help, and a lot of people have done runs, so there's always videos and things like that you can watch. And yeah, that's all I've got. I don't know about Dynam and Spider.
That covers it for me.
Yeah,
just thanks for having us.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having us on the show.
No, thank you for being here. Really appreciate you all coming for this relatively new speedrun, showing it off, talking about a lot of different options with it. Really cool stuff. I believe I did all the announcements I need to do. I just want to remind everyone that Awfully Silly will return at its normal time in 2 weeks, October 16th at 7 p.m. That is it for this Teal Mass Showcase. Make sure you stay tuned for Out of Bounds coming up after the break with Sly 2.